how do we bring purpose to the day-to-day? I've noticed a few patterns emerging throughout these meaningful conversations with incredible entrepreneurs we've been having over the years. And it's often that purpose is a big, heavy topic. And today we're going to explore how we give meaning to our day-to-day. I'm Susie Sanders. I'm your ever curious host. This is the Alchemy of Alignment podcast, and I've got a very special guest here with us today, the force of nature that is Caroline. Caroline and I have had the pleasure of speaking prior, but for those of you that might not be familiar, Caroline is the CEO of Grey Matters Consultancy, who are a UK franchise. Caroline's also involved as a director consultant with an international networking organisation. I believe she's been a franchisee herself, and her business is so deeply meaningful and purpose driven. So I'm delighted that Caroline's here to chat with us today. So welcome. Thank you for being here, Caroline.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, Susie.
You chuckled when I said you were a force of nature.
Oh, because, yeah, you could believe I'm a legend in my own lunchtime.
You're a gift, Caroline, and I'm so grateful that you're here to share some of your insights, experience, and because I think, is it fair to say business is in your blood?
Oh, absolutely. No, I could go back to great grandparents who were entrepreneurs.
I love
that. I think my great grandmother's sister ran a railway line in Hemel Hempstead, and it's one of my hobbies is doing ancestry, and I've discovered that she had like a 10-mile track in Hemel Hempstead that she owned the railway line, so it's in my blood. It's in my blood. If you go to Hemel Hempstead, you can see my DNA all over Hemel Hempstead. Yeah.
Incredible.
Where my great grandfather had an ironworks and installed electricity and gas to Hemel Hempstead. So it's just in my blood.
Incredible.
I know, it's marvelous. The internet, if my father was alive and he could have delved into ancestry, he'd have just absolutely delighted himself.
Yeah, it's so important to understand our lineage and our history.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, bringing us back to the moment here today.
Yeah, feel free.
Please, for those that perhaps aren't familiar or don't know as deeply, what is your business all about now?
Okay, so I'm actually going to talk about my father as my launching pad, really. He was born in 1919, and he was 40 when he had me, and I didn't realise that I'd got an older father. I had no clue whatsoever. And when he retired at 65, he was absolutely fine. He retired at that's when you did in those days, one job for life, and he was 65. And he planned his retirement with absolute precision. I now know he probably had Asperger's, but at the time, that wasn't a thing. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm selling my 4-bedroom house. I'm moving down to a 3-bedroom bungalow. It's going to be near to a doctor's surgery on a bus route, so I haven't got to drive if I haven't got the car. I need to walk my dog. It's got to have a park, and there's got to be a chemist on the corner. And he found the perfect location in Maidenhead. And he sold his house. He moved to the bungalow, and I watched him do all of those things. And he was fine for the first 10 years of his retirement. At 75, he started to go slightly off the boil. Nothing major, but couldn't make a few decisions that were normal, run-of-the-mill to you and I, whatever. And I started to make decisions for him. As he progressed through to his late 70s, I said to him, Dad, I can get you attendance allowance. I'm not claiming benefits. I've never claimed benefits in my entire life. I'm not going to start claiming benefits now. I said, Daddy, because that's what I used to call him, you had family allowance when my brother and I were born. Well, of course I did. It was given out by the government to your mother. And I said, yes. In these days, today's era, it's called child benefit. I said, you just got it automatically. You never questioned it. And he said, well, no, why would I question what the government are going to give me for the right of producing a couple of kids? I said, but Dad, they are giving you this money because you are older. You are not managing your life. You're expecting me to sort you out. Therefore, you qualify for attendance allowance. It took me 6 months to persuade him. He was my worst client. Once I got him the money, I don't think he ever said thank you. But it did give me a life lesson in how to prep up. And this was, I'm going back to, this was the 1990s. I did this form. So I've been doing this for a number of years. And so that's how the concept started, supporting the older person. Does that answer your question?
It does. It
That's
does.
it.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because your work is quite that your consultancy does is quite practical with that example of like helping people get access to things they're entitled to and
Oh,
through the processes. But it's got to be quite emotional as well because there's a lot of emotion that is
and you've hit the
linked.
nail on the head. You could do these forms yourself. You can, as a daughter, you can do that. I'm going to tell you, it took me 6 months to do my father.
Mm.
I have a disabled son. It took me 6 months to do his claim for disability living allowance. By taking an outsider, they are not in the moment. They ask the questions that you think you know the answers to. And in truth, the reality is you don't know. You just see it as wallpaper. Of course, that's how they always put a jumper on. That's how they always get out of bed. But actually, it's not normal. It's not as you were doing it when you were 40. When you're 85, it's a bit more of a struggle. So that's why my business is needed, because the third party, the child, the adult child, is too much in the moment.
Mm. And is it fair to say the adult child has families of their own, has careers, there's all
Time
these other
poor.
factors as well.
They
Yeah.
are they are time
Yeah.
poor, and they are swamped. They're
Mm.
swamped with running their own house, never mind running mum and dad's.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, you must keep busy. And I know
Oh
it's not just you.
no, it's not just me. I've got a big team around me now. I've got a big team, and I can't. Since I went professional 2012, and I've just grown the business like Topsy, because the demand's there. It's the biggest growth sector of the population.
Mm.
We are all aging.
Yeah.
When I first started doing this, I would say to my girlfriends, "Does your father do what my father's doing?" And my girlfriends would say no, because my parents are 10 years younger than yours, Caroline,
Mm.
and I was ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Gosh, you
So
must have some stories to tell, Caroline.
I could write a book.
But you should. But what do you think? What do you think's helped you keep focused on the day to day? Because I know you've got the team, you've got the growth, you've got the demand, you've got your own life and your own family, and there's always so much going on. How do you think you keep meaning to your day to day?
I really enjoy what I do. Okay, I can't. I love fighting a battle. I love Nothing gives me greater pleasure than having a ruck with someone and knowing I'm right. Um, sorry, I don't mean that. I don't mean that I'm aggressive. I'm just saying that I enjoy fighting the fight. I once said to a vicar, I said, "Oh, Sally," I said, "I thought I wouldn't quite I could have been quite good as a vicar. And she goes, you deal with many more clients than I do in a working week. And I went, oh, okay, I'll take that. So I haven't got religious. Please don't think that. But I'm just saying that I love fighting somebody. I love the underdog.
Mm.
I love the David and Goliath story. I want to be fighting against bureaucracy, against, yeah.
I can certainly relate to that. And do you do you get fatigued?
Oh God, yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I have to pace myself, but I'm. And the joke of it is, Susie, is I'm 67. I should be retired by now. If I was my mother, all I'd be worrying about is doing the ironing and walking the dog.
Mm.
Mm. I'm not though. So yeah, yeah, of course I get tired. I do get tired, but I manage my day. Your Shelley, who works with you, she manages my diary, so I tend to finish by 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a good day. And I think she's put in my calendar. She puts Caroline focus time. It's actually, AKA nap time. And I've been known to have a nap in the afternoon. It's quite essential.
God, I couldn't agree with you more. We call it a business nap.
Yeah,
That kind of little half an hour reset in the
yeah,
afternoon.
100%.
And Shelley is one of our wonderful franchise partners, and actually Shelley connected us
Yes.
a while back, and that's I'm pleased to hear that she's making a difference to your
Oh,
diary and your life.
100%. 100%.
Because it's interesting, isn't it? Because I align to what you say there. When you love what you do, it's different. And but there is that cliche, isn't there? About never working another day in your life when you love what you do. But when you are very passionate, and particularly, what you've said there about, that fight and that battle and standing up for what's right, it must get quite fatiguing and quite exhausting. So
Yeah, I mean, I do pace myself. I do, I only take on so many battles in a day,
yeah.
you know, and I'm very easy as to park something for the next day because
How do you pick your battles, Caroline?
I'm very much a case of I'm like a magpie. I go with the shiny one first.
Okay.
If something's really shiny and bright uh, and exciting, then I will work with it. Probably, even though it might have come into my inbox later down. But if I think, oh, that's interesting, and because I'm learning, every day's a school day. I'm learning something new all the time.
Yeah, well, I think we're kindred spirits, Caroline. I do like a shiny idea or exciting new project,
Yeah,
or
and
um,
there's always something always pops up into. I mean, I I was speaking to somebody this morning who I helped in January, and he phoned me this morning saying, "Can I do another body of work for him?" And it's lovely that they remembered me from 8-10 months ago to now, and it's like, who do you trust? And yeah, so every client is special to me. Every client,
yeah,
they all get a bespoke service, and
wonderful.
that's where we are unique.
Mm. And so refreshing and so needed as well, because when you think of the bureaucracy, the the red tape and all the things that need
Mhm.
to be jumped, um that bespoke care and service is so crucial. And you said something key there about every day's school day. I very proud my business is 9 now, which I can't quite believe, but I had a realization, I think probably a couple of years in, that the more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know, and the more
Oh,
I had to learn.
I've always, I sit on meetings sometimes, and I say, okay, this is not my um like a financial advisor, whatever. We're talking about something. I said, can I just sit on this meeting so I understand what you're asking me for, what you're asking? Because then when I go and see my next client, I'll say, well, actually, now I know you need to speak to a financial advisor about this because. So I absorb information like a sponge, and I process it round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that curiosity is an essential string to the entrepreneurial bow?
Curiosity and the ability to listen.
Mm, yeah.
You've got to be able to listen to what the client's telling you. Um, the client, to me, client service is the most important thing. I'm not an entrepreneur without my clients, and I can only do a really good job by having the skills of listening and asking the right questions, and yeah,
And that is a skill, isn't it? Knowing the right questions to ask.
building rapport with people and talking about, you talk about the banal in order to get them to buy into your service, and that they'll talk about anything that you might find a mutual interest, and go for the, yeah.
And trust has got to be a huge part of this in the
Massive,
sense.
absolutely hugely massive. I've got a client at the minute who is he's severely he's under 66. He's I just for point of reference, I go from a child of 5 to 105. Okay, everybody is vulnerable. So I don't just deal with the older market, and that's my core service, but I deal with younger people too. So I've got a client in his 50s, and he's become disabled through an accident, just like that.
Goodness.
And we're talking away, and he's phoning me up from his hospital bed. He's flat on his back. He's paralysed from the chest down, and we were talking about what his needs from my company were, and I can offer him quite a bit of support.
Mm.
And I said to him, "Where did you hear about me?" And he said, "NHS England." Massive. Now that's the level of trust. You've got somebody who's at their lowest of life and knows that they can trust us because we come highly recommended.
Yeah. That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. And you know, life, we never know what's going to get handed to us, do we?
No, you don't. You don't. You absolutely do not know what's going to happen tomorrow
Mm,
or even this afternoon.
yeah. But that needs to be an empowering thought as well as a terrifying one, right?
Oh yeah, no, but we should all have things in place.
Mm,
Everybody from the age of 18 should have a lasting power of attorney in place. We should all write a will.
mm,
We should all know what our funeral looks like. My
yeah.
first question, if I'm going to see somebody to talk about later life, is how do you want to be buried? What do you want to do with your body? Oh, I don't want to think about that. Well, you must, because,
Yeah.
and I speak from experience, my dad's ashes sat under the stairs for 8 years because I didn't know I was paralysed. I didn't know what to do because he never empowered me to tell me what to do.
Yeah. And you must beat that, is it resistance quite a lot because nobody really wants to think about that. It's inevitable. We're all gonna check out at some point, but there's a lot of resistance, denial, whatever it is. Just
Yeah,
generally speaking, no one wants to think about that. But
yeah,
what you're saying is that empowering others by having those difficult conversations prevents so much heartache in the
yes.
future. Would you, if
You've
I
got,
sum that up?
you absolutely have to talk to your kids, and the kids have to talk to the parents
Mm,
about backstories, life, what to do in the future. You know, there's nothing worse than if you go around my house now, behind every photograph or every picture, there's a post-it note that tells the kids, okay, you can chuck this in the skip, or this is valuable, do not throw away, flog it at auction, or one of you have it. People don't talk enough.
Yeah.
I talk about death all the time.
Mm.
I'm not scared of it. Well, I'm scared of dying. I don't want any pain, but I don't. I don't. We need to know what we're doing.
Yeah. Would you have any advice for those running their own businesses and considering what we're talking about? Would you have any
Yeah,
advice for that for
you've
those
got that.
people?
Yes, if you're running a business, you should have an LPA for your business.
Mm.
All right, you need to have a succession plan. I know what my succession plan is for my business.
Mm.
All right, I've got two businesses with Grey Matters. I've got Grey Matters Consultancy, which is my little territory in Maidenhead, and I run the Grey Matters franchise. I know what the succession plan is for both businesses. I need to
Yeah.
because I've got stakeholders who need me. I need to have a plan in place for if I was taken off tomorrow.
Mhm.
All of my systems are secure, so I know that anybody could walk in, log in. I know where, and my kids know where everything is.
We have the same. We have our death admin
Yeah,
plan for the
yeah,
business because um, it's so important. It's
yeah.
so important that um, I've always built alchemy on the basis of what would happen if I'm not here. What would happen if
You,
I
you
was
should,
incapacitated? And
yeah.
it sounds like probably a little bit of a unlinked link, but to me it makes sense. When I had my daughter, um, actually we kind of leaned on stress testing that plan because I was about to give birth, anything could have
Exactly.
happened. And so we were able to kind of test that plan out to see how it functioned and what was needed. Although I hadn't died, thankfully, it gave us an opportunity to test that.
You should think about the fact that tomorrow is might not be given,
Yeah.
and children need to talk to their parents,
Mm.
and parents need to talk to their kids. I really am regretful that my father never talked to me about his World War II experience.
Mm.
I'm only now picking up bits of information, and he's been dead many years. But why didn't I ever have that conversation with him? Why don't I know? I
Yeah.
know I don't know much about my mother's childhood.
Mm.
So you've got nothing to put your hat on. Well, now my kids know everything about me.
Yeah. Mine too.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, we're lucky that we live in a digital age where you can take photographs all the time.
Yeah. We are. Although I feel very, very grateful that I grew up before social media.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah, I cannot imagine the pressures as a child or a teenager of social media, WhatsApp, always
Um,
on, always communicating. I'm glad that I had a childhood without that.
I would have liked more photographic evidence of my childhood.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, your dad, you would get a 32 reel of film, and if you're lucky, you'd be on one or two of those images for the whole of the holiday, and that was his. Yeah, now I've got 11,000 pictures on my phone.
yeah. It is. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
incredible. My daughter very often asks to look at her baby pictures,
Yeah.
um, which is it's lovely to be able to do that. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think the key things coming out of this conversation so far, having that passion and that connection to what you do, and knowing to pace yourself with that, right? And picking those meaningful battles, but also we need to talk more, right?
We absolutely do need to talk more.
Yeah. And having what do you think stops people from having those difficult conversations?
I think people think that no one will be interested in their story.
Hmm.
There's why would I want to talk about me?
It's
And
interesting.
certainly the older ones. And if you chat to the older people, they are just absolutely fascinating. They
Yeah.
can give you so much wealth of knowledge.
Hmm.
I I had a restaurant for 20 years, and we had a client, Philip, who would come in every 3 times a week for coffee, morning coffee. He was in his 90s, and he'd worked at Bletchley in the war, and he hadn't been allowed to leave the UK throughout the war. He was just not allowed because he worked in government security. And his son said to me, why'd you talk to my father? I said, because your dad's really interesting.
Hmm.
He's got some life lessons for me to learn. Why wouldn't I talk to him? And the son couldn't believe that I was interested in what his father had to say. Breaks my heart.
It
Breaks my
is.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
What an
know.
incredible guy that man must have been.
Yeah. Oh, he was very wise,
Mm.
very wise, very clever. Yeah,
And that wisdom is
yeah,
the most precious thing, isn't it?
100%, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, and back at the start of this conversation, what you shared about your entrepreneurial business blood and the links to I mean, that is so interesting. And I didn't make, because I don't know an awful lot about my ancestry, if you like, but I do know that my grandma and my granddad, they were very entrepreneurial. They had a shop, and they served the local community, and I never really realised that, and until it's too late to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And I do often think of my gran when I'm having a bit of a rough day, and I think, oh God, what she went through,
Oh
um,
no. I
I can
mean,
do, I can
and
handle this.
they did it all in a long skirt. You know,
Yes.
they were hindered by the outfit. Their oh God. I am so glad I live in today's era.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could not be a Victorian lady. Yeah.
That's it. We have so much freedom and so many choices and so many
and
options.
and we've had the education.
Yes. Yeah.
We have had the education. Thank God. We've got equality. We've got the education. We've got the ability to
Yeah.
speak up for ourselves
Yeah.
as women.
Yeah. I do think we've still got a lot of work to do, but you're
Oh,
absolutely
100%.
right.
100%. I went about, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. I went to buy a sofa, and I went with my partner to a local furniture store, and they said, "Oh, does your husband want to sign on the paperwork for the buying the sofa?" And I went, "Hello, yeah, he's not my husband." And B, no, I am a woman in my own right to be able to sign for buying a sofa. Thank you. I
Wow.
know. That's only about 8, 9 years ago.
Wow.
I know. I only took Roger along to see whether he was comfortable or not.
Yeah. We've had great progress, but I do feel we've collectively as women got that we have a obligation to keep going and keep speaking up, to use our what we have to serve others, right?
I've got a granddaughter. She's 12, and she's incredibly feisty, and I'm very, very. I encourage that.
Yeah.
I don't ever, if she sort of says something that's other people might find out of line. I want you actually no. Come on, girl.
Use your
Say what you
voice.
think. Say what you think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've got two very strong-willed children, and that curiosity, that questioning, that challenging compassionately and respectfully, but challenging what you're told and saying what you think is so, so important. I've always instilled that in them, but it does cause me a lot of problems. such is life. Such is life. And Caroline, it's been a joy to chat with you today, as it always is. And as we pull this little conversation to a close today, I feel like we need to have some parting thoughts here. I feel like some parting thoughts. And is it have those conversations, ask those questions? What do you think is the
I
summary of our?
if nothing else, if you just picked up the phone and said to your mum, "How are you today?" And when she says to you, "I'm fine," you say, "No, actually, mum, how are you? What's your day hold?" It will go a long way.
You're so right, Caroline. I've started doing this in just my day-to-day conversations recently, asking how are you for the second time, because there's just this glaze that we have, isn't it? How are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Um, it's a pleasantry, but
It's a non sentence.
yeah,
I'm fine is not an answer.
but asking again.
Yeah, ask again.
Caroline, thank you. And we
My
will obviously include some links. So anyone that wants to connect with you and find out more about you,
please.
please do. And thank you, Caroline, for giving us a little tiny slither of your story. It's been a joy. And for you listening or watching, however you've been entwined in this conversation today, thank you for being here, because we have a wealth of information and knowledge and things at our fingertips. And I'm very grateful that you've given us a little bit of your focus today. But please do reach out, let us know what landed with you, and I will be back with another guest very soon.